You asked for it, you get it. Ryu and I will rip your photos into smithereens. Hold on to your headphones. Here comes the pain.
Good morning. It's 6:21 a.m. here, and it's nighttime at Matt Cohen's household. We had to report it this way because I had a problem with my daughter going to sleep at the time that Matt and I usually record. So if I'm not 100% or Matt, we apologize. But we're tension like might be low, but what we're gonna say is probably not gonna change that much. So without further ado, we will start with Toyin's photo.
Can we start with Flickr and Yahoo are now part of Oath?
What's that?
This shit at the bottom where it says Flickr and Yahoo are now part of Oath.
Oh yeah, what is that thing?
So weird. Capitalism. All right. Okay. Stop shooting at eye level. Just stop doing it. Right? You're not like, if you're using like a medium lens and you're standing at eye level, there has to be something fantastic going on. And really the only thing that, like, what you could have built off of here is the woman in the background staring at her, kind of, but the woman who's lifting that bag and the guy behind her and the other guy who's not looking at it and the other woman who's in the foreground, like, none of these things are working together and she's not doing anything interesting. So what do you have? Yeah, they're all in really good shape, but your job is to show them doing athletic things or showing a lot of emotion or making a really nice landscape or something like that. And this is none of those things at all. Yeah. I'm sure that there was exertion here. I'm sure that the people who won were happy, and I'm sure the people who didn't win weren't happy. This is nothing. This is an iPhone picture, from somebody in the crowd or something like that. Like, you have to make something out of this, and that you have to look for the things that are interesting about it. And this is like not even the moment. This is like after, right? Like, she had to lift this thing over her head and now she's like bringing it down or something like that. So this is like kind of a disaster on every plane of what we would look for in a good picture. This doesn't have any of that stuff. So
it's such a wasted opportunity, because like you can do like I think he's quite close as well. He's like distance wise, he's very, very close to the subject, and there's so many different ways you can do this. And why he chose to do it this way is really beyond me. It just makes no sense to me whatsoever. It just does.
Yeah, there's stuff going on. There's like that little kid who's watching, and there are the bars. You could have made something out of the bars, like by shooting underneath or something like that. Like, this is you're not going to get something just standing around and occasionally pulling the camera up to your face and taking a picture. It's just not how it works. Like, you have to do something. Like, there's a physical component to photography, right? You have to either, be really observant and like moving your head around all the time and then moving into position, getting down, getting up, fighting for a little tiny gap in between people. You have to do all of those things to give yourself a chance to make a picture that doesn't look like something that somebody just standing there would look like. This looks exactly what standing there would be looking like. Like, there's no craft in this. It's just button pushing. This is deeply disappointing to me.
Yeah, and then like what Matt alluded to before, the fact that like the whole timing thing. It's very easy in a way that like what's gonna happen. She's gonna lift this up, and that's what she's supposed to. This is what the event is calling for. So what you want really is that time that she's really like she has that face that she's really lifting something heavy, she's struggling, that kind of stuff. And that's what you need out of everything else. Like, I don't care, like that bag could have just had nothing in it, like just maybe just like a bunch of clothes or something. And the fact, I mean, it makes no sense to me. I mean, you should know this. It's like not like something that you just walked into and say, just gonna shoot this for a little bit. I'm just gonna go home. I'm sure you were there in official capacity. You were probably inside because like everyone else is outside. So you're there. You know what's going on, and you choose to shoot this over everything else, which is a absolute no. I mean, it sucks. It's a shitty photo. Ugh. Like at least that he's struggling, you can actually see in his face, and that's exactly what you want in the previous picture. Now, am I gonna call this a better picture overall? Yes, but only slightly, only just because of his face. That's it. When the guy behind with that blue shirt is obviously distracting.
Ugh.
I mean, like it's. I really don't understand. Like, it's not. I mean, is he moving around that much for you to like not kind of be set?
I think
You
what
know?
happens. I think he's just getting locked in on the subject. I bet that he didn't even notice that guy until the second time he even looked at the picture.
No, man.
You have to control for your backgrounds, and if you're shooting from somewhere where there's going to be a bad background, consider moving. And if you can't move side to side or around to the other side or something like that, then move up or down, or you could have moved a little bit over and a little bit lower and let your subject block out what was going on in the background. But that guy in the background, you have, whether you understood what you were doing or didn't understand what you were doing, the result of this is you made a choice to have this guy in your picture. That's not good.
No, it's just really bad.
You need
like,
to choose.
understand.
You need to choose to not. You need to make an active choice to not have him back there.
Yeah.
So, the point of this is, I don't honestly take a month from now and don't take another picture standing on your feet. You have to break yourself of this, and you have to go to heroic length to not do this. And if this is what standing on your feet gets you, then don't do that. And I don't care if the pictures look ridiculous, but you have to do something completely different. And hopefully while you're doing something completely different, even if it is ridiculous, you're going to figure out what perspective means and how looking at things differently than other people just holding up. This is an iPhone picture, and we've been doing this with you for too long for you to be bringing us iPhone pictures. You have to put some kind of craft into it. Like the things that we're talking about, this is just ignoring everything. These two pictures is ignoring everything that we talk about all the time.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, it's a really shitty picture, like we expect a bit more quality, like, because like he used to stand. I remember Torian was standing, and like he then sat down and he got better pictures, and then for the football stuff, and now this, it's the same concept and logic there, that you have to be, in most cases sitting, just because things actually look far more dramatic when you're sitting. You have basically an upward angle as opposed to a level one, and that's just basically physics. Like things look better in terms of sports, and I guess it could be like even for most pictures as well, huh? That if you're sitting down, if you're in a kind of upward trajectory type of angle to see things, but it's fucking horrible.
I mean, I can't even remember the last picture that I took standing up. I literally cannot remember. I might have gone the whole rodeo season, and the only time that I was standing was when I was like on a platform shooting down on like a bull riding or something like that. Like I was never standing on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, like there are times that you have to stand because like you cannot sit for some reason. Like it's just you just can't do it. But there's no really excuse whatsoever for you. Like if there's a place to sit, then you should sit. I mean, if you're absolutely blocked You know, there's people in front of you, or there's a fence or whatever, and you have to stand. And sure, you have to stand. But then, like, even that, you have to like look at the situation and say, okay, can I make this not so kind of standy type of photo, and just like try to find better ways to actually shoot it, to be a bit more creative about it. And that really wasn't the case at all, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, ugh. And what's this? Kevin. Um, like if you're panning, there kind of has to be like that element of like, okay, now it looks really, really cool, because you're panning and there's things going on in there that makes people want to like see and say, wow, that's really, really cool. So if I just look at it like this, all I can see are just blobs. Then I have to have like that second take and the third take and say, oh yeah, there's, you know, people skating. I think he's got a stick. Oh, this is like an ice hockey picture. But if it takes me that long to basically figure it out, it's a fail. And in the day and age where we have things like Instagram and uh, or Facebook, when people are just like scrolling through these things like just very, very fast, I mean, this is not a type of picture that should be there, especially at Kevin's level. He should know better. That I don't really understand. Like, I think you got big caught up with maybe the lines that are in the background. You thought it was very pretty, and I think it is. But
I think there is something. I think there's something to this. It's not a good picture.
No,
For all the reasons, you know, it's like almost not identifiable. But there's, and again, like, even if the picture was really good, otherwise, that you want to have a uniform background, and having that gray block like up in the upper left doesn't. It's distracting and takes away from any kind of success this picture would have had. There are two things that I like about this picture, and you can definitely expand on those. If you were, even if you were where you are here and you were shooting down on the skates and you just eliminated all the background and it was just like panning on their skates, because you have like a pure white background and then you have the darker color skates, I think that would have worked. And then there's something to this between the blue line and the yellow line that looks kind of orange here. There's something there, but you're too, one way or the other, you're too wide here. So you either want to be tighter on the space that is, you know, where their skates are hitting the ice, or tighter to where their torsos are going past those lines. That's where this picture would be. It is way too wide. To, even if you nailed the panning better than you did here, something, it still wouldn't have worked because it's too wide and because there's too many other distracting things going on. But if you had focused more closely on either the skates or the torso, I think you would have had something.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, really, really the only thing I like about this picture is the whatever the yellow orange line, and that's really about it. Other stuff, like, it's really just doesn't work. Um, I think if you want like a really just a white background, then you have to go up the stairs into the stands and go up until you get just white. Like, because I've actually done that for figure skating, and I know exactly how it is. It's that, like, with background, with anything that's related to ice, and if you want to eliminate anything that's kind of distracting, then yeah, you kind of have to do it, you know, straight up from the stands to get it. But to me, like, my problem really is the fact that, like, it's not interesting enough. Like, the person who's actually on it, or people who are actually, you know, in the picture, just not doing anything interesting. And I think I don't know, if it was like a single person, you know, single hockey player doing this, I think it would have been better. To me, like, the guy in the back is really, you know, distracting. Oh yeah, by the way, he is standing here, just so you know, because I don't want to get like angry comments on these things about, like, well, he's standing, but yeah, you have to stand on this one because that's the only way you can actually shoot this. Because in an ice hockey rink, you cannot stand. I mean, if you sit, then you probably can't see anything. So those are the type ones you kind of have to like, kind of break a rule. God, I'm so tired. Training ground is not really good to do in the first thing in the morning. Oh God. All right.
It's not any better at night.
No, but like I think I have a bit more energy, in the evening than I have in the morning.
All right.
And it doesn't really help when I have to look at shitty pictures and I have to comment on it. It's like, oh God. All right.
Yeah.
This is fucking disaster. Really, like, look at this.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot good to say. Let's say you had not completely fucked this up and cut the number 66's foot off. What are we supposed to be looking at here? Right? You were blessed with low light.
You can see the guy's face. You can see how long. It's great.
Yeah. The light is so low, the shadows, and you don't have the shadows on the ground from the guys running, and there's no shadow on their faces because the light's coming right under there. There is no ridiculous advertising boards in the background. There's no cars or trucks parked there. There's no like yellow tape. So you were you were already on base, right? If we're mixing our metaphors and using baseball here, you were already on base here. You already had a single. All you had to do was like any extra effort, he would have been in scoring position. What do we have here? You very carelessly composed this so that it cut off his feet. And what are we looking at? It's just a guy running with the ball. There's nothing happening here. The other guy, is like barely even chasing him. There's no action going on here. So all you have is what you came to, and that's nice light and a good background. So you added nothing to this. You just squandered it. So, again, too high, get down on the ground, sit, kneel, whatever. Use the background in a way that, maybe you're not shooting against a chair, because that's really the only thing that messes up the background. So maybe don't do that. Until they get closer, shoot with a wider lens or shoot with a tighter lens and try to isolate the action, again, using the good background that you have there. But he's not doing anything athletic at all. This is just, just the routinest of routine plays. He's just, a defenseman running around with the ball, and that's not enough. So you're looking for emotion. You're looking for the peakest of the peak action. You're looking for a better angle, or you're looking at worst case scenario, like some kind of landscape with the players in the foreground or something like that. But again, it's not just going there and aiming the camera and just, pushing the button a million times and coming out with like 500 action pictures. You have to, you can do that. I don't care. But when you're going to, improve and get past that, you have to at least show that what part of the game is interesting and what part of the game is boring. And this is the boring part of the game. The guy's not even passing. He's not like taking a check or anything like that. He's not celebrating. All he's doing is just running around with the ball. Nobody cares. No, nobody cares about this.
The feet cutting thing, because it does happen now from time to time. It happens quite a lot on training ground. It happens, like, I'm sure it happens to Matt, and it happens to me as well. Because you are, if you, especially if you're using a prime lens, like if you're using a 400 millimeter, 300 millimeter, whatever, and you cannot zoom out to fit everything in, if that's clearly what you're going for, you are inherently taking a risk, because the more that the athlete is coming towards you, the chance of the leg or something getting cut off is going to be great. It just happens. It happens, like, I was doing a shoot this weekend, shooting amateur football, and it's exactly what happened, a lot of it, and I try to, first of all, like when the feet gets cut off at that point, even if I probably had like the greatest action moment in live history, if that part is cut off, it's done. Like there's not like it's like
Just
that.
throw away. It's just like you don't even spend any time on it. It's just
it's finished.
Oh, this is worthless. Gone.
And what you want to do is that you want to basically know like how much the kind of like that distance that you can say to yourself, okay, if I'm taking this kind of picture, this kind of action picture, and I want the entire body to be in, that's like you can just like have a mental marker like on the pitch and say that's where I cannot do it anymore. So basically you stop there and switch to another lens, or you let that play pass, or you just wait until the guy comes a lot closer. You get from like the chest up, the waist up, or thigh up, or something, so like so it doesn't really matter if the feet are cut off. And you should, if you do this, like it's one of those things that really has to come from practice, and you keep on doing it, and you see like, okay, from here, okay, I'm gonna switch my lens, or I'm gonna wait until he comes a lot closer. And those are things you have to do, because otherwise you're going to keep cutting your feet, and you're going to start just destroying pictures. And you basically go out there, early in the morning just to see this, and you turn out with really shitty pictures just because you're being careless. And you cannot let that happen, because otherwise, like, you have to go and do all these things to just get shitty pictures and go back home. Like, you can't do that. So Simon, I think, said on this one, by the way, there's no excuse for it. And he said, it is a sports picture. It is not. It isn't at all. So let me see what he actually said.
No.
I laughed when I saw that one. It's like, give me a fucking break. Saw two young fans peering through the gates from outside of a stadium. Is that strong enough to make it a sports photo? I think in a grand sense that if this is like a part of a series, I can maybe call it. That if I can actually even like see that gate in another picture and say, oh, I can actually like make the thing. This is like, like a group of like 10 photos that you've kind of submitted. Like, it's kind of fine. But
even it could be a series of two. It could be two pictures. It could be this, and then it could be maybe people are lined up behind them for, like a 5-minute look at the game without a ticket or something like that. There are some stadiums here where you can watch from the outfield or something like that without a ticket, and you can only stay there for like half an inning or something like that. And where the Giants play here, it's like pretty famous that you can do that. That would be kind of cool. But as it is not a sports picture in any way at all. And while we're on it, like, you need to line up the lines. Like, you can't have it ending on a beam on one side and not on a beam on the other side.
Yeah,
it's funny because you actually went through the trouble of lining it all up so everything's perpendicular and parallel, but you can't, you need to leave it so that it's even. Like, it's not even here. You either have to crop to the same distance on both sides, or step back or step in so that you don't have to crop. But yeah, you can't leave it like that. It's like all the care that went into lining it up so that it was straight just is out the window because there's a beam on one side and no beam on the other side.
And I would definitely use Photoshop's lens correction to make sure like things are all straight as well, because it's a bit wonky on the left side, and that's not good.
No.
That's fine.
Simon. Yeah, this doesn't need to be here. Like, this is like, he's not doing anything athletic. It's not a peak action kind of thing, but there's intensity there, and he used the lights in the background to his advantage instead of to his disadvantage. And you have like the out of focus cage in the foreground is there, and that kind of breaks up the background too, so that adds to it. This is really good, and it doesn't need to be here.
I like this picture. Yeah, good job.
It's like the jubilation part of it is really good, and I get that you wanted to have the dejection, but that's rare that you're going to get both of those in the same picture. And the way that this is like it's out of balance. Like when the guy is running towards you and takes up half the frame, and then the other guy is laying away from you and takes up a tiny little bit of the frame, you just end up with all that area, the netting in the background and the ball bouncing around, and then the turf in the foreground. And just the whole thing's out of balance.
Yeah, I don't
like you could have cropped this to just the guy, and that could have run in many newspapers. Not a good picture, just an average picture, but you got the jubilation and he was coming at you, and that's fine. It's not really what we're trying to do here in terms of like being interesting or anything like that, but you got it to the level of it can be in a newspaper. But you would crop the goalie out or whoever that is behind him, because it's not adding to the picture and it's just creating negative space that's not helping anything. But yeah, I mean, it's just, it's what it is. It's not, It doesn't take anything special to do this.
No, it's fine. Like I'm fine with it. Like I don't really care for it. But really, like, to me, it really is like what Matt said. Like the background really just it's horrible. It's really, really bad. And I thought the guy in the bottom, like lying down, was like stretching or something. I thought he was doing. Yeah. I mean, I guess like there's nothing really you can do about it from this angle that we were sitting. You got the guy who's celebrating. That's fine, but it kind of stops there. And if you want to really show that there is a person who is not happy with what happened, there's one person who's happy with the other person who's not. You have to be absolutely clear as to what is happening. The fact that I thought like the guy was just like kind of lying on the ground doing nothing means that you didn't really do the job. So in that instance, if I see this and if I shot this picture and I thought, okay, can I use this for something? Probably. And what Matt said, like, yeah, you want to then like crop it, because like that guy just so distracting to me. Like I can't really change the fact that the background is crap. So what I can at least change is I want to get rid of that guy who's actually sitting there doing really absolutely nothing to me. Like it's not really showing any sort of like emotion with his body. Nothing, So yeah, I think it'd be a cropping thing. I think you cropped it anyway, right? I don't think you actually shot it as a square. So you cropped it.
No, it looks like over cropped as it is, but
yeah, so it's a lot wider. So I don't know. I don't like this picture. I really don't. You got the emotional part of it, right? But the rest is just like, ugh. I'm fine with it. Like I'm really fine with it. Like I don't really have like any really big thing against it.
It doesn't look right.
And it doesn't look right. It doesn't.
Like I like the idea of it. I like the idea of using the dark background and the light coming in an angle like that. And I really don't mind that it's black and white, but it doesn't, like, the whole thing looks soft. Like I'm trying to figure out where even the focus is. It looks like it might be on the middle person's helmet or something, yeah. But it just doesn't look. This doesn't look right. So I don't know. Like
it might be like the weird distance between the first and the second person.
Yeah. Like it could be like a depth of field kind of thing, and the f-stop was too high or something. I don't know, but it doesn't look right. So I would say this is a good, good thought and a good attempt. But you have to, when you're shooting things like this, where there could be multiple things in the picture, or the thing that you're shooting is really long. For this thing that I'm working on now, it's going to end up being an ad, and it's going to be the part of the picture is going to be a cowboy walking a horse behind him. So you have the cowboy, and then you have part of the rain, and then you have the horse. The horse is like 8 feet long or something like that. And then there's like 3 feet of rope, and then the cowboy's like another foot or something like that. So there's like, I don't know, 12, 14 feet or something like that. And if you're shooting that from the, anything except from just like the side where they're all the same distance from you, if you're shooting it from head on or behind or any kind of like oblique angle, there's going to be a pretty big difference between the distance between the closest part of it and the furthest part of it. So you really have to be careful what you're focusing on, because if you end up focusing on like the horse's shoulder or something like that, and the guy is out of focus and the horse's head is out of focus and the back of the horse is out of focus, and the only thing that's in focus is the shoulder, is going to look weird. And I think that's kind of what happened here. It's like there's not enough isolation on the person in the middle because of that they're close to each other, but they're also not all in focus because of the f-stop that you used and because they're not the same distance from you. So you get caught in this like weird kind of area where you either have to recompose or crop or something like that to get to be the only the things that are in focus, because the things that aren't in focus are not out of focus enough to not be distracting. So this picture ends up looking weird because of the f-stop that you were at and the length of all of the subjects that you were shooting.
You know what?
So
I
to
think
keep that in mind.
the distracting thing probably is the guy in the back. I think to me, like I was kind of looking at it, thinking like, why is it looking really weird? And I think the fact you can actually see all his face in the back really, and that's not the person in focus either, right? So like I think if that person was in focus, I think it would have been okay in a way. But I think the fact that like that person is not in focus, the second person is in focus, and you can't see the face of their faces. Like if all their faces, you couldn't see any of their faces, I think would have been fine. But the fact remains that you can only see the person's face on the third one, and that's why I don't think it worked out. That's kind of like how my take on the whole thing is. Hmm. I don't know about
It seems
this.
to me that this is like too early, because if he's getting horse collared down to the ground, then his feet would have come up at some point, and then he would have been airborne, and that's a picture that would have been at least mildly interesting to me.
Hmm.
But this just seems like too early.
Yeah, it's weird, huh? I don't know what to say about this one.
Yeah, I don't the I don't mind that 23 is like falling off the edge of the frame, and I don't mind that
I
they're
don't
all
mind either. No, but I
like
think
this
it's that
is one of
guy.
those things.
That guy.
What?
Yeah, it's the main guy that they kind of, like if I shot this, I'd have like a really weird timelines. I'd be looking at it for like a minute, thinking, I like it, or I don't like it, and I think eventually I'll say like, nah, I'm not too crazy about it. I think just for balance wise, like I think the 23 is too prominent in the picture, and he's like not. He's prominent, but he's not the main person. It's the guy in this whatever the white
Yeah,
one.
I don't know. It ends up looking awkward. This picture is interesting to me because I like how all the players are in the background, like the out of focus ones. They're all like in this, they're all like facing exactly the same direction, even though they're different depths away. And I think that's like a good foundation for something, especially because you've done well to isolate them out of it to a certain extent. And I don't mind 23 being where he is. I mind the guy who's carrying the ball. It just looks awkward. And like I said, if he had been laid out or something like that, it would have been a little bit more interesting. But it doesn't work because he's looking awkward like that. Like
Yeah,
having
that is
his
probably it.
you know
Yeah.
having his hand up like that, and then like having his head all the way back and just barely being able to see his face. It just looks awkward. And you can get unlucky, but I think this is more a matter of timing.
No, they're not kneeling.
Oh boy.
It's fine. I think it's absolutely fine. And I think it works really, really well as well because you've got the flag in the background. And also like the guys are like the guy in the middle is tall, the tallest of all of them. And I think that works very, 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 very well. So you got
Yeah.
lucky. The guy factor the guy. I mean, it's absolutely fine.
And is the
I,
sun right behind his head?
yeah.
Yeah, it must
Fantastic.
be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good.
Good job. Yeah, it's fine as well. Like I've got no qualms, Simon.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
You know, go. I guess you can't go back.
No, you can go.
I would have cropped this at his waist. I don't need to see his
No,
knee.
I don't. I like his knee. I like his knee there.
No,
You want to
no,
cover the waist?
definitely. No, I would crop it at his waist. It's that's the interesting part of the picture. I don't like the writing on his shorts,
Yeah.
and I don't need his knee, and I don't need that bit of the fence there. You know, having the fence in it, I get it for, you know, for like to show where he is or something like that, but he's very obviously celebrating, so the sense of place, you know, that doesn't matter. The bit of it that matters is that his hands are up and he's yelling, and the lighting truss in the background is good. It falls off, like the bottom part of it is not nearly as interesting, and I would get rid of it.
All right. This is the last one. Hmm. I don't know.
It's messy. You know, that's really what it comes down to. Like, it's good timing that the guy is in the air like that and,
Yeah.
getting tackled, but there's just like the guy on the right, the guy blocking the other guy into the ground on the left, and then the action in the middle. Those things don't connect, and there's like that weird spacing in between them that just ends up making the picture look awkward.
Yeah.
And it would be, I don't know how this would have worked shooting from this distance at, you know, at this focal length. It just, there's people in the background that are distracting from it, and I could overlook that, but it's the spacing. Just look at the spacing. Look, there's like 3 times as much space in between guy on the right and the middle and the middle on the left.
Yeah, that's the
part
I don't like that.
Yeah,
it just
ends up looking. It's hard to get your brain to process those 3 things and then bring it back into, okay, all these things are happening in the same picture.
Yeah, because the guy on the right is actually quite in your face, from what I actually see.
Let's look at it like this. Let's think like imaginary. You could Photoshop out the guy on the right, and then you clone the guy blocking the other guy.
Yeah. That makes absolutely look really cool, you know?
Yeah, if you had like that kind of scene that's going on the left, on the right, and you didn't have that guy on the right, it would look cool because it would be like his blockers blocking the defenders into the ground on both sides, and he's running through this big hole in the middle or something like that. It would work. But what breaks this is, and you can't cropping out the guy on the right wouldn't fix it, because again, you have the same spatial problem that we had on the celebration picture, the soccer picture from before, where one of them is vertical and one of them is horizontal, and they're taking up different spaces. If you're trying to make this picture, what you're looking for is a run where he's breaking through the line of scrimmage and his blockers are on either side of him and are knocking their guys down or something like that. You could shoot that this wide and it would work, but that's like it just doesn't happen like that, where everybody gets out of your way and you just have the ball carrier and his blockers or whatever. It just doesn't ordinarily work out like that.
Yeah.
So I would say, look at this picture, look at the three different elements that are going on in the foreground: a single player, and then two pairs of players, and just kind of understand that what we're seeing is it's just really unbalanced, and the spacing between those doesn't work, and then figure out how you can make something like this that the spacing does work. And even if you don't do it on purpose, learn to see it after the fact, right? The difference between the spacing while you're editing is going to be important, because then you recognize, oh yeah, that actually the timing all came together on that, so this picture works. But no, this other picture looks like this one, and the spacing is all messed up and it doesn't work.
Well, there you have it. Another exciting episode of Training Ground. And probably not a good thing to do this again at 6 o'clock in the morning. But sorry, it's just we had a lot of things like going on like in our lives for the past couple of weeks. We couldn't actually like kind of get it done earlier. But we'll try to get back on track next month. And while you wait, you're gonna watch this, and in probably a day or two, we're gonna be able to. Not a day or two, probably in a week or so, we're gonna be able to give you the podcast. So yeah, please keep on sending us photos, crappy ones. Not crappy ones. So, I mean, I'm gonna try it, make a better one than the crappy ones that we've actually shown over here today, and have a very nice whatever morning or afternoon you're gonna have. Thanks and good night.
All right.
Uh-oh.